ICP at the price of $500, I'm still maintaining that as my price target for this bull run, even though that's not financial advice. But oftentimes when I say the internet computer is amazing, when I explain its fundamentals, sometimes people, they always revert back to the same old excuses. They say it's caca, it's trash. And the other day I had a friend who I was talking about ICP, right? And he told me, he's like, why would I get any cryptocurrencies at all? He was like, you know what? Didn't you see what Warren Buffett said about cryptos? Allegedly he doesn't like them, right? Now, here's my response. Warren Buffett, back in 2012, around that time, right? He invested in newspapers. I mean, caralho, porra. Even I know that's a bad idea. Who's reading newspapers nowadays? Also, take a look at something like, for instance, right? The S&P 500, gold. That's not going to cut it, man, for me at least in this time, which is why I'm a lot more bullish on cryptocurrencies than any of that type of stuff. More specifically, ICP, because keep in mind, $500, that right there is around a 32x from here. So keep in mind, again, it's actually not that bad. Now, again, I may revert back to this Warren Buffett aspect, but he's done great in his life. But you know what? This is a different time. This is a different period. If I was born in the early 1900s or something like that, I'd probably look into other stuff because of course cryptocurrencies didn't exist back then. But the way I take a look at it is that I'm just more into this type of stuff. Not to mention the internet computer. When it comes to what it is in terms of its category, it's pretty much the leading project. And let me explain why. Because there is blockchains, right? There's also directed acyclic graphs. Like for instance, you take a look at Hedera Hashgraph. There's also something like a block DAG when it comes to Casbah. Now, they're pretty much on a different league in terms of the fundamentals. But then if you actually take a look at, just strictly blockchains, right? What do I think is arguably the most dynamic, the most interesting, and the most revolutionary? I would say it's the internet computer. Because even the data doesn't lie, hypothetically, right? Allegedly, because if you actually take a look at it, there's Ethereum, there's Solana, there's Avalanche, there's Algorand, and I'm very bullish on many layer 1 blockchains. But who has the status of the world's most productive blockchain as we speak? Allegedly, that's the internet computer. So you got to take that into consideration. This right here, in terms of its category, I would say that it's the best. Think about this, right? Is a Range Rover the best car of all time? Arguably, I would say no. But in terms of the off-roading category, I would say that arguably it's pretty much one of the top ones out there. It's kind of like the internet computer. But then here's the thing. When I take a look at the internet computer, even though the ecosystem, many people argue is complete caca, which I'm not denying necessarily that, especially when compared to many of the big players like a Solana or an Ethereum, I'm not denying that. But then what I'm saying is that this at least has the hypothetical potential to have an even greater, if not somewhat as great as them. Why is that? It's because if you actually take a look at the internet computer, its fundamentals, its speed, it's just so amazing, right? People like Ethereum, but if the average cost per instruction on there is over 40 million times more expensive than the internet computer, that's a little bit a no bueno in my opinion. Not to mention, for $1 worth of smart contract data, you can get over 200 million bytes on the internet computer. All of this right here is just very beneficial for future developers. Now, am I saying that amazing development is going to happen on the internet computer in the next 6 months to a year or even 2 years? Absolutely not. I mean, let's be realistic here. That's not going to be a reality. At least that's the way to take a look at it. But does it really matter? I don't think so, because as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. Take a look at what Charles Hoskinson said, right? And Charles Hoskinson, he's no random Joe Schmo from El Pollo Loco or something like that. No, that's not the case. Because here's the thing. If you actually take a look at, again, Charles Hoskinson, he actually happens to be the co-founder of Ethereum and also the founder of Cardano. I mean, can you imagine this, right? And on a video on November 26, what did he say? He said that in the next year to 2 years, he could very well see, Bitcoin reaching the price of either $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. I mean, caralho, porra. I mean, could you imagine that? Again, in the next 1 or 2 years from then, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching that. Now, is $500,000, aka $500,000, a little bit too much to ask for? Absolutely. I think, that's a little bit too bullish. But again, you never know, right? You never know how high cryptocurrencies can go. No one has a magic crystal ball. But let's say we take a look at his worst case example, like $250,000, let's say for Bitcoin, right? I mean, at that point, $500 for ICP really wouldn't seem that insane whatsoever. I mean, that's just the way to take a look at it. Again, during a fully fledged bull run, people don't really care about, adoption. If people cared so much about adoption, Cardano's native token called ADA, as of right now, in my opinion, should theoretically have a higher price than what it was back then in 2021. But it's not, right? It's actually quite far from it. Not that far, but you get what I mean. So the way I take a look at it is that people don't really care about adoption because, of course, the adoption for Cardano is a lot better right now. But even besides that point, when people take a look at the world's most productive blockchain, when they take a look at something that has great exposure, listed in a bunch of major exchanges, good community, we've seen this recipe work time and time again, right? That's the way to take a look at it. It's like having salt and pepper on meat, in my opinion. It pretty much works with like a bunch of things. Fish, shrimp, beef, whatever, right? Salt and pepper, that's it. I like that. Now, when you take a look at something like the internet computer, again, we've seen this recipe work so well, again, time and time again. Take a look at what it did to BNB, Solana, Ethereum, Cardano's native token called ADA, Algorand's native token called Algo, Quant. So when you take a look at ICP, I don't see why it wouldn't, also have a good time during this bull run. You got to consider how reaching the price of $500 market cap, considering current circulating supply, would be around $238 billion. Ethereum reached this by over $300 billion, right? I mean, can you imagine that? And people naturally, they latch into the next big thing, right? A lot of people, they latch into Bitcoin, moved on to Ethereum. A lot of people also take the look at BNB, Solana, Cardano's native token called ADA. I don't see why the next one won't be ICP. That's just the way I view it. Now, again, is it going to take time for the internet computer to truly gain, mass adoption? Yes, but in the short term, people, all they usually care about is hypothetical upside. And ICP going to the price of $500 is still over 30x from here. Even considering how much it pumped, it's still over 30x from here. So again, like I mentioned earlier on the video, again, this upside, I don't see why it's so bad. Now, some people, they look for a 100x or 200x, but even for me, if let's say ICP goes to the price of like $250, which at that point is just like a 2x away from my price prediction for ICP during this bull run, would I still be acquiring ICP then? Absolutely, because even if let's say something can do like, a 1.5x, or even in this case, let's say like this example, a 2x, right? That's already so amazing because if let's say I just kept that cash in a bank account, what's it going to do? So the way I view it is that I'd much rather put it to use in a sense, right? Now, I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but that's just my perspective, which is why I'm still going to be acquiring ICP. I'd say as ICP does go higher, I'm still going to acquire. Doesn't matter. If let's say even ICP is at the price of like $400, why not? If it can even do like 20%, 30%, let's say whatever the case is, right? It's still good enough for me. So that's the way to take a look at something like ICP and also a bunch of other cryptocurrencies as well. I'm still believing in this, and why would I not? This bull run is looking so amazing, and I think that better days are ahead. Am I saying there's going to be no pullbacks? I'm not saying that because there could very well be multiple pullbacks along the way, but I think the general direction could be upwards, and 2025, I think, is when something like ICP could truly shine, and I can't wait. And I'm very bullish on the internet computer, and I think better days are ahead. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.